So I recently got asked by a friend to help him shoot some social content for a local gym. And after hearing about the gym and the brand, I thought it would be a really fun opportunity to try out some new 3D techniques like Unreal Engine or Wonder Dynamics. So the idea for the video was pretty simple. It's a gym that was all about inclusivity and not having difficult memberships. So we thought, what if we made these people searching in the desert for the perfect gym and they couldn't find anything and they were struggling until they found the perfect sort of Garden of Eden gym. So with that in mind, my friend Doug, who runs a music studio, decided to make a little song for it. And then after the song was done and after we shot the video, it was time to start putting it all together. Now here we have all the raw footage. A lot of it is on green screen and some of it is at the gym. I really just wanted a basic crash course in how to use Unreal Engine for cinematics and maybe how to use Wonder Dynamics. And then because of that, I would have to learn a little bit of how to work in Blender. So the first thing I did was I went into After Effects and I chroma keyed everything. I cleaned it up and I made myself a little generic rough cut. Once I was done with that, it was time to bring in Unreal Engine. Now, if you've seen some of the other things I've worked on, you know that I've used Unreal Engine a little bit for some game dev stuff, but I hadn't actually used its cinema capabilities yet. But I decided to start from the beginning. First, I needed to make an environment. And to make this environment, I needed to get some desert assets, remember how to do all of this foliage and placement stuff. And I downloaded a cactus and a little skull, and I placed them into the level. Now I just needed to place the actors in, and this was the part where it got complicated. I'm not gonna lie, I actually had a lot of trouble with this. I knew that it was probably easier to work with an image sequence than a video file, but I thought dragging and dropping it in would work. It didn't. I don't know exactly why. All I know is that placing this image sequence directly into the level does not work with shadows or lighting in the way you'd want it to. Eventually, after truly a week or two of just letting it sit because I was so frustrated with how to figure this out, I searched a little bit more and I found this YouTube channel that laid it out very simply how and why to make it work. And it turns out I had to do a few more shenanigans with a media player, a media texture, and then putting that together in the timeline. I also was very annoyed by the fact that I would probably have to do this for every single video asset I brought in, which was going to be quite a few, but I think I'd just be able to do it manually for now. It's not like I need to automate this. Once I finally figured that out and I finally figured out the lighting, so then came the tedious process of bringing all of the rest of them in, and then I had to troubleshoot the movie render queue a little bit. I couldn't figure out why nothing was rendering at first. It was all black, but then I realized you have to add in these takes or cuts. So even though you have the camera, you need to have it understand which camera it's cutting to. I can see why I overlooked it because in this case I only had one camera, but with multiple cameras I could see how you could set up a more complex timeline or sequence like an actual video editor. Once I was done with the first sequence, then it was time to do a few other close-ups, which were a lot easier. I was getting the hang of it now. And then the final sequence was the big swooping shot. I know that I wanted to swoop from the talent all the way up to the top of a mountain where the doorway to this gym would be. And it was actually pretty fun to set it all up and to deal with the easing and the keyframes and figuring all that out. And then it was just the fun part of designing this door on top of the mountain. I wanted to build this big gate, so I got some Roman column assets from Quixel Bridge. I tried these little shrubs at first, but they weren't enough. Eventually, I downloaded these trees and added this whole little oasis on top of the mountain. Finally, when that was done, I went back and I added these doors, just because I thought it would be cool to have these doors swing open to see what's inside. Now that I was pretty much done with the Unreal Engine 3D cinematics, it was time to move on to the Wonder Dynamics portion. Now, I'd never worked with Wonder Dynamics, and I never worked with character rigging or anything like that. For anyone who hasn't seen these tech demos, they are mind-blowing because, even though I'm not a VFX person, I know that a lot of that is very tedious hard work. Like, you have to manually rotoscope out the backgrounds and rig these skeletons to these characters and everything, and it's very tedious. And the fact that they would do it all for you on the back end was fascinating. So I thought, why not try to do this with some of the custom characters they had? And at first we tried some of the characters that came stock with Wonder Dynamics, but they didn't really fit the vibe right. I was like, these are just random characters. I was like, we should make them all a specific character. And the mascot of this gym is a unicorn. So I was like, well, maybe I can go find a unicorn online or something like that. So I went online and I found this unicorn asset and it was perfect. It was like, oh, this little rainbow unicorn is the exact vibe of the gym. So now I wanted to upload that to Wonder Dynamics. And the thing about that is that you have to validate the character. Like the Wonder Dynamics needs to make sure that you've prepped the character correctly to be used in their system. And so I was like, well, I've never done that before. So now I had to download Blender for the first time, and I'd never used Blender before. And so now I'm learning the UI and how all the different buttons work and everything. And eventually I was able to slowly figure it out, mostly because this character was already pre-rigged from the site I got it from. So it was easy for some of that to translate across, but I did have to delete some other things and figure it all out. But ultimately, it wasn't that crazy. I definitely had a few bugs the first time I did it, like like in this one I didn't validate the character right with their T pose, so it came through with the arms doing these wacky things. But eventually I figured it out and now it actually worked. And then once I'd figured that out, I was like, okay, maybe I can just swap out these textures for different unicorns and that way I don't have to do this over and over again. And so I figured that out. There was a point where I truly didn't understand how the pose and the edit layer worked together and I was going crazy trying to figure it out. I went on the Blender Discord and paid someone $30 just to tell me how to get started with the basics of Blender, because I was like, this is gonna be way faster than just waiting around on a forum or a Discord for someone to respond to me. Like, money talks. And honestly, I was spending hours on it and I was like, my time is worth money. I do not have all the hours of the day to do this. I should just pay someone to help me really quick. And that's what I did. So once I got all these guys figured out, I figured out how to texture paint and everything, and then I had these 3 unicorns done. But there was still one more shot in which I wanted a unicorn in, but we didn't actually shoot someone in it. So I thought maybe I could do just a little custom animation by myself. So to do this, I knew that I would first have to track the camera. I'd have to motion track the camera, and I found a great video online that taught me how to do that. I figured out how to manually tweak the little poses and stuff. I'm sure this is so basic for most people who use Blender, but it was crazy to me and it was very fun, and I was able to set them down in this little pose on the ground. It was not as hard as I thought it would be, but it was still a little tricky, like understanding how it all worked together and just kind of how specifically Blender deals with keyframes and everything. But then I got it to do this little hand wavy thing and put them on the ground, and it works. The last and final pieces of the puzzle were the After Effects sequences. Now, the vultures that we had, where we wanted these vultures to be sort of leering over the actors and taunting them with, shady gym contracts. And I thought, I had the funny idea of like, why don't I play all the vultures and I'll green screen myself onto these vultures. So I went online to get it. I got these high quality vulture assets. And then I went about shooting myself on green screen, making sure that I got the angle kind of just right. And then I brought it into After Effects. And I've done this a lot before, and this is probably something most people have done a little bit of in After Effects, so I won't go over this too much. But it was fun to just key everything out and splice my heads onto these vultures. And then I had one last little bit. There was a little bit of a lip sync issue that really bumped me in the edit. Normally, lip syncs aren't an issue because you can sort of slip and slide people around, use time remapping a bit, but the problem here was that there were multiple actors and some of them were ahead of the others. And so there wasn't a way to sort of uniformly change the timing of just the clip to do this. So I thought, well, this actor's face is not really moving. They're kind of looking straight at the camera. Maybe I can face swap them with themselves at a later point in time doing the line at the right time. And I was like, that is a really crazy idea because it is not guaranteed to work. It might be a lot of work to just not work and still look janky as heck. I was like, what have I got to lose? This is fun. I'm already this far in with the effects. I might as well add a little more. So I used some standard face swapping techniques that I think I'd learned about somewhere else on the internet. I don't know where the videos are at this point, but I knew that if you add a mask to people's face and then you use the tracking window, you can have detailed face tracking of their faces, and it'll track all of the little features from the eyes down to the lips and everything. And so I knew that if I did this, I could stabilize based on where their eyes were. And so it took me a little bit to remember, but so I stabilized both faces by their eyes. Their eyes would be completely still, and then you can reverse the stabilization after pre-composing it by connecting it back to the transforms and rotations that you applied before. And then you have to do a little bit of scripting to reverse the scaling and sometimes the rotation. But once I did that, now all I had to do was sort of paste it on, and it was okay. I tried masking it out, but while their eyes were fine and they stayed in the same place, the biggest problem was, I think, the mouth. Because the jaw moves with the mouth, and there's an intersection with the neck and the wall and everything, it really was not seamless. And so I tried my best with some clever masking, but ultimately the easiest thing to do was to just leave it. It happens so quickly. If you are watching the video, you probably catch a glimpse of something weird happening with their chin. It definitely gives them what looks like a double chin look. So I did this actor dirty just a little bit, but honestly, I think it times out better and it's not as big of a deal. And so ultimately, after combining all those assets, we have the video. And it's not high art, but all of the different programs and its softwares I had to interact with along the way made it a very worthwhile project to work on.
out here. There's only vultures and predatory sales.
Just following up. Oh, you don't want to leave your contract.
What do I gotta say to keep you here?
Most of all, I just want a place that accepts me how I am.
Ridiculous humans, serious fitness. Ridiculous humans, serious fitness.
There's a magical place where the unicorns roam.
Where the bells swing freely, you can call it your home.
Nobody will judge you on your weight, shape, or size.
Easy memberships with no surprise.
Inclusive.
Joy, not judgment.
They meet me where I'm at.